Hello everyone, it is Commander Spotlight Monday, and today we are doing our Selesnya Commander deck. It's a two-color, white and green, and today's deck is called Army of Rhys, with Rhys the Redeemed as a commander. He cost 1 hybrid mana, green and white, legendary creature elf warrior with a 1/1. So he's got 2 abilities. One is you pay 2 and hybrid green and white. Tap, create a 1/1 green and white elf warrior creature token. And the second ability is 4 and 2 hybrid mana, green or white. Tap, for each creature token you control, create a token that's a copy of that creature. So the purpose of the deck, main goal of the deck, is to go wide, make as many tokens as possible. So we have a lot of ways to make tokens in this deck. It all starts with a commander. If you don't want to use Rhys the Redeemed as your commander, there's a few other creatures that you can see, or you will see, that can be your commander, including 2 from Baldur's Gate, which you have Jaheira, Friend of the Forest, Human Elf Druid for 2 and a green. Tokens you control have tap, add 1 green, choose a background, and the background is Inspiring Leader. Commander creatures you own have creature tokens you control get +2/+2, so it makes your tokens bigger. It's one of the reasons why they're in there. Now, our token generation, there are a lot of ways in this deck, and there's a stack of our token generators. To create tokens, God Eternal Ketra. We are going to be casting a lot of creatures here, so whenever we do cast a creature, and God Eternal Ketra is out, we're going to make a 4/4 black zombie warrior creature token with vigilance. And Oketra, when she dies or is put into exile from the battlefield, you put it into your library, 3rd from the top. Conclave Guildmage has a activated ability to create a 2/2 green and white elf knight, and then it could also give your creatures trample for paying green. So once you get your creatures wide enough, give them trample, and if you have your anthem effects like Inspiring Leader, Prava of the Steel Legion, who gives your creature tokens +1/+4 on your turn, also makes tokens. And Intangible Virtue, creature tokens you control get +1/+1 and have vigilance. Trample will definitely help. Usher the Fallen, you are going to be attacking, and Usher the Fallen has a boast ability that you can activate to make a human. Verdant Force, each upkeep you make a 1/1 green sapling creature. Cemetery Protector, whenever you play a land or cast a spell, if it shares a card type with exiled card, when it enters, you make a 1/1 white human. So there are a lot of ways to make tokens in here. I'm just going to go through. Won't really go over them. And this is our token payoff. Whenever 1 or more tokens enter the battlefield, you put a 1/1 counter on Woodland Champion. So it makes this card, this creature, bigger, because we are going to be making a lot of tokens. Propagator Drone. This one gives all your creature tokens evolve, which means that whenever a creature enters the battlefield, if it has greater power or toughness than this token, put a 1/1 counter on that token. So that's when a creature you control enters. So if you have a whole bunch of 1/1s and you play, let's say, Woodland Champion, so those 1/1s are going to see that this power and toughness is greater, and they will all get +1/+1 counters. So this is great once your board gets wide. This Ooze makes, if you have your commander, you make a token of this at your upkeep. Archon, all non-Archon creatures get base power and toughness 3/3, so it makes your tokens bigger. For the Common Good is a sorcery that you pay X, and you make X tokens that are copies of target token you control. They gain indestructible, and you gain 1 life for each token. So it's some life gain, gives your tokens indestructible, so it also protects them. Some more ways to make tokens. Beldar Retreat is a landfall card, which we have a few in here. You can either make a 2/2 white cat, or put a 1/1 counter on each creature token you control. The other 3 landfall cards that we have are Emaria Angel, who makes a bird when a land enters. Avenger of Zendikar. When it enters, you make a 0/1 green plant creature token for each land you control, and then when a land enters, you put a 1/1 counter on each plant you control. And then Scoot Swarm. This thing just snowballs. As long as you have 6 or more lands, instead of making a 1/1 green insect, you make a copy of Scoot Swarm, and then it just gets exponential from there. So those are the landfall ones. Cathar's Call makes you a token at the beginning of your end step. It's in an aura that goes on a creature. Another one that matches God Eternal Oketra. When you cast a creature spell, create a 1/1 green and white human soldier with training. And training, whenever the creature with training attacks with another creature with greater power, you put a 1/1 counter on it. The original commander of this deck actually was Amara, and it was mostly cards that tap Amara without her attacking, but now she just fits in the deck. I've thought about removing her. And we have Elspeth Stormslayer. I don't have any of the token doublers. I happened to pull this one from a pack, so that's why this is in here, because it doubles the number of tokens you make and it fits this deck perfectly. But I don't have any of the other ones. And then Growing Ranks. At the beginning of your upkeep, populate. Populate means you make a token that's a copy of a creature token you control. So it doubles the tokens that you have on. No, you copy a creature token, so you copy one of them. Doesn't necessarily double it. So we have a lot of ways to make tokens. So we need a way to defend or protect our tokens. We have a few ways to protect them. We have Stalwart Pathlighter. It has Coven, and if you control 3 or more creatures with different powers at the beginning of combat, on your turn, your creatures gain indestructible. Shalai, Voice of Plenty, gives all our other permanents and planeswalkers and ourselves hexproof. Heroic Intervention, good old classic. Root-born Defense. This is a populate protection spell. You populate, and then creatures you control get indestructible. And then Akroma's Memorial. It gives your creatures flying, first strike, vigilance, trample, haste, protection from black, and protection from red. So this is one of our finishers. If once your board is wide enough, you play this, and if it resolves, it's a great way to finish off the table. To clear a path, we do have some removal, or not necessarily removal. We have disruption. This is a graveyard disruption. You exile a target creature card from a graveyard, and then you populate, so it increases your tokens, and it also helps to stop graveyard focus commander decks. Knight of Dawn puts counters, gains life, or destroys our target artifacts or enchantments. Giant Killer, it's a great way to destroy a creature with power 4 or greater, and then when you cast the creature side, you can pay 1 and a white to tap a target creature. So if there's one big stompy creature, you can just tap it. Hour of Reckoning is our board wipe. It has Convoke, so Convoke is great since we have a lot of creatures and creature tokens, and it destroys all non-token creatures, so your tokens are safe while clearing the board. Targeted removal, you got Generous Gift, Swords to Plowshare, Charge of the Mites, which if there's nothing on the field, you could actually use to create tokens with the deck. Devouring Light also has Convoke. It exiles attacking or blocking creature. And Reprieve. It's not a counter spell, but it returns target spell to its owner's hand. So it's a great way to delay the casting of a spell, and then it gives you card draw, which this deck does not have a lot of. Aside from Reprieve, we have Idol of Oblivion. Tap, draw a card, activate only if you create a token, which we will be doing a lot. And then Rumor Gatherer. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield, scry 1. Enters under your control. If it's the second time, draw a card. So we have draw effects that you can activate every turn if it stays. And then we have some recursion. Loaming Shaman allows you to shuffle any number of target cards from your graveyard into your library. And then Mimic Vat. This one, whenever a creature dies, that's a non-token, you may exile it. If you do, return each other card exiled with Mimic Vat. And then you pay 3 and tap to create a token that's a copy of an exiled card. So this could be used as pseudo Disruption, if an opponent's creature dies, you can exile it under MagictheGathering and then make copies of it. You can take their best thing, and you could also use it to protect your stuff. Let's say you don't have a way to bring it back, you don't have Loaming Shaman in your hand, and it dies, you can exile it, the creature that died, and then make copies of it. We do have a few one-off cards in here. We are going to be creating a lot of permanents, and Alter the Brood here. Whenever another permanent enters the battlefield under your control, each opponent puts a top card of his or her library into his or her graveyard. So you disrupt your opponent's plans by milling them, unless it's a graveyard focused deck, and if that's the case, then we're just feeding their plan. Anointed Priest, life gain whenever another creature token enters the battlefield, so it helps against the burn style commander decks. Vidar, Kondo of Jamura. This, if our tokens aren't big and they're still 1/1s, what this does, it means that creatures your opponents control without flying or reach can't block creatures with power 2 or less. So it's a great way to make sure that your opponents are open. And then Rustler Rampage. If your creatures don't have vigilance, you can use this as a way to untap all your creatures if someone is swinging out at you, and then block with your little bitty tokens. If you have one big creature, you can give it double strike. So it's a good one-off that's in here. Now we do have a couple finishes in here, aside from Akroma's Memorial, right? The one that gives our creatures flying, first strike, vigilance, and trample. We have a few other ones that I would consider a way to finish the table. Wayfaring Temple, which gets power and toughness equal to the number of creatures you control. So we are going to have a lot of tokens. This works well with the Rustler Rampage. So if you have this and a lot of creatures, give it double strike, maybe take out one or two of the enemy's blockers, and then Veteran War Leader, which has the same ability. However, you can tap another untapped ally you control and against your choice of first strike, vigilance, or trample. However, this is the only ally in here. It's just in here because of that first ability. And once you have all those tokens out, all those creatures, in my opinion, the best finisher for a go wide deck is Craterhoof Behemoth. So it's a 8 mana, 5 and 3 green, haste, beast, 5/5. When this creature enters, creatures you control gain trample and get +X/+X until end of turn, where X is the number of creatures you control. So your little tokens get bigger, get trample, and if you have Akroma's Memorial, they have flying, first strike. It's going to take a while, and you might not get it all. So that's the finisher, and we are going to need to get there. So we do have a ramp package. Jaheira gives our tokens the ability to tap for mana. Deedborn Muse untaps all our permanents at each other's untap step, which with Rhys, that means that you can make tokens every turn. Keeper of the Accord. If a player controls more creatures than you, you make a token. If they have more lands than you, you may search your library for a basic land and put it into the battlefield. So at the end of each opponent's end step, this happens. Golden Guardian. This can be tricky to use. When I first used it, I thought it would fight any other creature, but it's a creature you control, and then when it dies, it transforms into a land that taps for 2 mana of any color, or it can make a 4/4 colorless golem. Cultivate. Let's go find 2 basic lands. One goes to the field, tapped, one into our hand. In Search of Greatness, not necessarily ramp. However, at the beginning, if you have a permanent on the field, let's say you have Woodland Champion and In Search of Greatness, at the beginning of your upkeep, you may put a permanent spell from your hand with converted mana cost equal to 1 plus the highest converted mana cost among other permanents you control. So if you have the highest is 2 and you have a 3 mana cost, you can play this for free. If not, you scry. Court of Bounty, the same thing, except it gives you the Monarch. If you don't have the Monarch, you play a land. If you do, you put a creature on the battlefield. Absence Pilgrim, Mana Dork, and Twitching Doll. Taps for mana, and then you sacrifice it and make a spider token for each counter that the doll has. Overall, the deck is a lot of fun to play. It's a go wide deck. It's my only one according to Architect. It is a bracket 3, mainly because of Seaborn Muse. So I'm sure I could take that out, bring it down to bracket 2. There are a few other creatures that you can have as the commander if you don't want Rhys. You got Amara, you got Torrens, you have Jaheira and the background of Inspiring Leader, and then you also have Saheli? No, it's not Saheli. Shalai. There it is. Shalai, Voice of Planning. So there's a few options. If you want to make it faster, if you want to make it slower, it's what I like to do with all my commander decks. So what do you think of my Go Wide Token Populate deck? Our next video for Commander Spotlight will be next Monday, and we will be going over our white and black Aristocrats deck. Thank you for watching. Click the playlist for our other Commander Spotlights, and we will be doing a video for opening of the newest Pokemon set, Destined Rivals. So subscribe, follow, and share. Have a good one.